about some of the companies that have gone through MassChallenge, some of the experiences that founders have at MassChallenge itself. But more than that, I'm really excited to be here. This is my first time in Portugal, so really looking forward to it. And it's just tremendous to see all the energy that is in this room. And I'm really, really excited about the fact that a lot of you guys are participating in the startup competition or thinking about starting your own companies, because I think this is what the world needs. The world needs more and more of people coming up with creative ideas and working on their dreams and actually thinking about making those dreams a reality. So, just as a show of hands, has anybody heard of MassChallenge here in the room? Okay, so some of you guys. I'm the founder of MassChallenge. MassChallenge is based in Boston. We are the world's largest startup competition and accelerator program focused on early stage companies with $1 million in prize money. Every year we give $1 million to entrepreneurs, and this is without any strings attached. So there are a lot of accelerator programs around the world. I think what makes us different is a couple of things. One is our size. Every year we have 125 companies accepted into the accelerator program. So it's not 5, 10, 20, 30, 125 companies, and this is from all over the world. Last year, for those 125 spots, we had more than 1,250 plus applications. So as of last year, 1 in 10 get in. And we received applications from about 34 countries around the world. We are cross-industry, so we really don't care about what's your idea, in the sense that the idea has to have merit. But we have healthcare ideas, we have clean energy entrepreneurs, we have retail, consumer product entrepreneurs, we have technology entrepreneurs, we also have nonprofits and social impact companies in our accelerator program. What we are looking for are really passionate people, really great entrepreneurs who are working on big ideas which are replicable, scalable, and can potentially change the industry that they're working on. And I think the other thing that makes us really, really unique is we do not take an equity stake in your company. So most of the accelerator programs out there, if you enter these accelerator programs, they do take an equity stake in your companies. We do not take an equity stake in the company. We are the world's largest accelerator program with literally no strings attached. And actually, at the end of the program, all the 125 companies that enter the accelerator program itself can compete through a judging process, which is done by judged by other entrepreneurs themselves for a piece of that $1 million. So last year, it was about 16 to 17 companies that won the prize money. 4 companies at $100,000 each, and another 12 companies at $50,000 each. And this money comes with no strings attached. This was just given to you. And even though the accelerator program is in Boston, we ask that at least one of the founding team members should be in Boston during the accelerator program. But after that, you have no obligations to keep your companies in Boston, or even if you win the prize money, there's literally no conditions on those prize money itself. The accelerator so let me explain to you the process a little bit more, how it works. So right now we are in the midst of the application season. So if you're thinking about starting your companies and want access to the US market or some of the great things that the US has to offer, or a top-rated accelerator, I would definitely encourage you to apply. The site is not up there, but it is www.masschallenge.org. And what we only want is a 2-page exhibit summary. What is your idea? Why is it different? And how are you going to make it real? And a little bit about the team members, where you're coming from, and what are your motivations behind that. Each of those plans, the 2-page exhibit summary, gets read by about 4 to 5 judges each. Investors, lawyers, technical experts in your area, depending on your area. And each one of those gets feedback. So it's not a black hole that goes in. Each application gets feedback, and the people who don't even enter the accelerator program actually get very good feedback, and they have changed their companies based on that feedback, because we have about 300 to 400 people from the startup ecosystem some of the best angels, some of the best VCs who help us judge these applications and give feedback to these applications. From those 300 companies are invited to pitch in person. And over 1 week, we see about 300 companies. And from those 300 companies, 125 companies enter our accelerator program. The accelerator program runs between June and October. And the accelerator program itself, we have a beautiful floor in downtown Boston where all 125 companies from all over the world are. We have about, as I mentioned, about 300 plus mentors into the program. We have about 250 plus events during that time. You get to meet most of the Boston ecosystem. These are people who have built great companies before, everybody from like the founders of Zipcar to all the VCs that you can think about who have presence in the US, General Catalyst, Atlas Ventures, and I can name a whole host of them. And the whole point of the accelerator program is to, as with other accelerator programs, is to get you from point A to point B in an accelerated fashion. So find the very best entrepreneurs from around the world and then surround them with the resources that they need to accelerate the growth of their companies. Our only criteria is that we focus on early stage companies. That means that you should have raised less than $500,000 in equity investments. That's our only criteria. And if you have raised non-dilutive funding, so for example, R&D projects or R&D grants from the government, which are non-dilutive, they do not count towards that $500,000. Right? So we have been in existence for about 3 years. This will be our 4th class. The deadline is going to be on April 3rd. So I would definitely encourage, if any one of you guys are thinking about applying or are on the fence, then you should definitely go to www.masschallenge.org, look up MassChallenge and apply to the program. So that's a quick pitch about MassChallenge. We have gone through 3 classes. Some of our companies have been very, very successful in raising money, as well as other things. We have had 9 or 10 acquisitions across those 3 classes, and depending on the industry that these companies are in, the life cycles are very different. So web and mobile technology companies tend to have very fast capital raising, whereas clean tech and healthcare companies have a slower capital raising cycle. I would be happy to answer more questions about MassChallenge itself, but I wanted to shift gears a little bit because a lot of you guys are thinking about starting companies. So talk about some of the lessons that we have seen in entrepreneurs actually trying to build companies or scale companies at MassChallenge or dealing with a lot of entrepreneurs doing that, right? So a couple of things. One of the things that is really good is that a lot of people are trying to become entrepreneurs these days, right? Why has that happened? Why is there a sudden urge or a sudden interest in entrepreneurship across the world, right? And I think there are a couple of things that have happened in the world over the last 2 years, right? Depending on who you talk to, it's a story of 2 very different worlds, right? One is the financial crisis happened. Great institutions which people never thought would go down have gone down. And there's a lot of pessimism in there. So if you talk about big governments, big corporations, there's a lot of pessimism out there, right? But there's an immense amount of value creation happening in startups right now. Great products, great services are coming to the market. They're getting to the users fast, and they're actually, as opposed to like the 2000 time, these guys are actually producing real revenues, real cash, and they have real economics behind them, right? And the reason why that has happened is a couple of things, right? And you guys probably already know this, but the cost of starting startups in the technology arena has gone down 10x in the last 10 years. And there are a couple of reasons behind that, right? One is a lot of the capital expenses that went behind a startup have been changed into operating expenses, right? So 10 years ago, you had to start a startup, you had to buy servers, you had to invest $4 to $5 million buying those servers, buying those infrastructures, buying those infrastructure tools. But a lot of them are now available very cheaply over the web, right? There are companies like Amazon Web Services, rack space that provide that kind of leverage to these startups, right? Open source has become a reality. A lot of these startups are getting built on open source software. That has taken the amount of money that it requires to start a startup tremendously down, right? And distribution. Distribution is still hard for a lot of companies, but the thing is, a lot of companies are being built on top of the Facebook platforms or other like iPhone platforms, which was not even available 10 years ago. Never ever in the history of mankind have so many people been connected through common mediums. So, as a result of all of this, a lot more people are thinking about doing startups. And if you go the world over, there are a lot more people who are thinking about becoming entrepreneurs. And becoming an entrepreneur has, to a certain extent, actually become a fashion now. You know, I went to school, and 4 or 5 years ago, I heard about the financial services companies. They were the heroes, the private equity guys or the hedge fund guys, right? And now, as I go around, it's the entrepreneurs who have become the heroes. And it's an interesting shift in phenomena. And there's been a lot of celebration happening around entrepreneurship, and that is very cool and very good. But the companies that we have seen and the entrepreneurs that you talk about, right? Everybody has to realize here that entrepreneurship is a very hard journey, right? There's a lot of positive press in it. There's a lot of mention of people making a lot of money in entrepreneurship. But at the end of the day, taking something which is just an idea to a company is a big divide. And to a scalable company, which is growing very fast, is an even bigger divide. And no matter where you are on that continuum, entrepreneurship is a very, very hard journey. So, some of the lessons that we have learned at MassChallenge are like talking to other entrepreneurs, right? People come up with ideas all the time, right? You probably are sitting on 5 different ideas. But when people go in, right, the first question that people are going to ask you is not just what's your idea, but why are you doing it? Why do you have the passion for this idea? Why are you willing to put 3 to 5 years of your life, the next 3 to 5 years of your life, pursuing this idea? Because they realize that ideas change all the time, especially in early stage startups. So your initial idea is important, but it is going to change. What they want to know about, what is the problem that you're targeting? Why are you so passionate about this space? And it's even more important to be passionate about this space as a founder or whatever you're going to start, because you're going to hear no's every day. You go raise money, you're going to hear no's every single day, right? Even the most successful companies, when they go pitch to VCs, when they go pitch to angels, they must have heard about 30 to 40 no's just from, the financiers themselves. You go to your customers, they will tell you no. You go you want to go hire somebody, they will not want to join your team, right? And besides all these obstacles, you need to be waking up every day, passionate about your ideas, passionate about why you're doing this, to continue charging forward, to continue pushing that rock up the hill. So as a founder, I think it's very, very important to ask yourselves, one is, why are you so passionate about this idea? What is it about this idea or this company that gets your engines going? Right? And the second thing is, it's not get-rich scheme, entrepreneurship. Are you willing to put really hard 3 to 5 years of your life in trying to build this company? And those are some of the questions that everybody should be asking as founders. That's one. The second big mistake that we see in entrepreneurs themselves is thinking about the founding team. More companies collapse because they haven't really thought about the founding team itself, right? And a couple of things on the founding team itself. One is the most common thing to do regarding founding teams is to go to your best friend or to go to your best 2 or 3 friends, and say, let's start a company. We are so passionate about it, let's figure all of this out later on, right? Let's build something first, right? But everybody is a different human being. Everybody has different motivations. And the thing that I was talking to you before, putting 3 to 5 years of your life towards an idea, towards the things, everybody on the founding team might not share the same idea, right? So you need to have that discussion, is who is in it for what motivations. That's the first thing, right? Building your founding team like that. The second thing is this. With the founding team, get all your legal paperwork in place. And I don't know what the legal things in Portugal are, right? But in the US, right, the 2 things that we tell people is incorporate your company, even before getting started, put founders agreements on table, and put founder vesting on the table. And by founder vesting, what we mean is, even as a founder, all your shares on the founding team vest in 3 to 4 years. Because even the biggest, most successful companies, I'll give you an example of a company called Zipcar. There were 2 founders. They said, let's go 50-50, right? I'm not going to put any kind of agreements on place. I'm not going to put any kind of vesting in place. 6 months later, one of the founders decides to walk away, right? Where the other founder wanted to still keep on working for the company. The founder that just walked away with 50% of the company. And they still had 50% of the company, even though they were not doing anything. So that is really, really important. The third thing why founding team is really important is, as a founder, you have to make a conscious choice about how much do you want to dilute your company. People think about diluting their ownership stake, or people think about diluting their share of the company when investor money comes in. Right? Oh, this investor is going to take 30% of my company, this investor is going to take 40% of my company, and there's negotiation for 5%, 10%, etc., etc. Right? But more than investor dilution as a person, there's founder dilution. If you have two co-founders, right, and if you want to go 50-50, right, that means you have already given half your company away, even before taking any outside money. If you have 4 founders, and everybody gets 25% each, right, you've already given, as a person, 75% of your company away, right, even before any investor dilution. And so if you have 25%, by the time outside money comes in and the company becomes successful, you'll be lucky if you have 5 to 10% of the company. And nobody thinks about this founder dilution that actively as investor dilution. Right? So make sure that the founders that you're starting your company with deserve their share. Maybe it's 50-50, I'm not saying it cannot be 50-50, but make sure that you actively think about that structure. So founders, founding team, very, very important. The third thing is investors. All the great successful companies that you see, right, are backed by great investors. By investors, I mean VCs. Right? And so there is this thing in the entrepreneurship market, or by entrepreneurs, that if I have to build a successful company, I have to get financing from a VC. Right? And if you get it, that's great. Right? But you have to understand the VC model. Not every business is a fit for the VC model. Right? And just because it's not a fit for the VC model does not mean that it's not a great business for you personally. You could have a better outcome personally by not taking VC money, not going through all this dilution, than taking VC money. And you just have to do the math, right? So, I mean, one of my, I think one favorite story, I don't know the exact numbers behind it, but there was a guy who started this digital review online company, dpreview.com, for digital, all he used to do is review cameras, or the new technology coming in. And he did not take in any outside money and sold the company for like $50–60 million and kept all the money. Right? The biggest problem that I see is a lot of entrepreneurs, as soon as they start a company, going knocking every VC door before even figuring out whether it's a VC investable business or not. VCs are looking for certain kinds of businesses. They're looking for businesses that can grow pretty rapidly. They're looking for businesses that, if successful, can take in a lot of money. Right? And they're looking for home runs, as we say in the US. Something that can become a $100 million company, $200 million company, $300 million company. Maybe you want to start a company which you don't want, which is not clear whether it's going to be a $100 million company. Maybe it's going to be a $20 million company, or a $30 million company, or a $50 million company. Then match the kind of company that you're trying to build with the investor sources that you have. Right? The biggest problem that I see is a lot of these entrepreneurs, without realizing what kind of businesses they're building, what kind of economics they will be, they're like, we just started a business. Let's pitch to every VC possible. And then they waste 6 months of their life cycle pitching to VCs, which they are not a good fit for. And they have lost 6 months of valuable time. And for a startup, this time is very, very valuable. The other thing is, if you're going to pitch for a VC, understand the motivations behind a VC. Understand their fund size. So if it's a $100 million VC fund versus a 500 or very different. And the kind of businesses that they're looking for are very different. So understand what they're looking for and match your business to their buying persona. So I can go over lessons, more and more lessons I've done. Through the 3 years, we have seen more than 300 companies go through the program. They have been very successful. They continue to change the world. As I said, 125 companies get accepted every year. We are the first accelerator in the world, which is supporting high-impact early stage startups with no strings attached. And I would, if you're thinking of starting a company, I would definitely encourage everyone to apply to MassChallenge, and the deadline is April 3rd. You can get more information on our website, masschallenge.org, and I would be happy to take any questions at this time. There are a couple of questions up there. I think if you can yell it out, or...
So the criteria is basically the team, not the prototype, or for the bootcamp, for the accelerator.
So the thing is, we look at three different things, right? First is impact. What is the impact that you're trying to have? And we let you define your own impact, right? We are looking for high impact ideas. Right? So somebody could say, my impact is to change the way people do marketing. Other people would say is, I want to build drugs which will affect hundreds of people, right? So that's one, is what is the impact that you're trying to have, right? The second thing is, what's your competitive advantage in that? So it's one thing to say, I'm going to start the next Google, right? What evidence do I have to say, okay, you're capable of starting the next Google? Do you have proprietary IP, you have sales channels, you have distribution channels, what is it, right? And the third thing could be, which gets a little bit more important after the accelerator program, is any kind of track record you have on execution, which means either on the team or on the product or on this idea itself. So even if you haven't worked on this idea, if you can show us you have any kind of track record as a person, you have been successful, like, why should we believe in this team, right? I think those are the three criteria that we look at.
When you choose your team, if you're or not. What kind of qualities should you look in a person to work with you? How should they be? Should they react to your proposal?
Are you talking about your co-founders or investors or?
Co-founders.
Co-founders, yeah. I mean, so the thing is, I think with the co-founders, right? I mean, usually what happens is you pitch your idea. Everybody gets excited, right? Oh, this is something new. Let's try it out. Things like that. And there's a really big curve of enthusiasm, right? But after 3 to 6 months of hard work, some of it goes like that, right? And this is normal in any startups at any stage. You're going to go up and you're going to go down. You're going to go up and you're going to go down, right? And people talk a lot about that emotional stuff that happens with the entrepreneurs, right? But what you want is when you're down, people still believe in it, don't abandon it, right? And continue working through it. So I'm talking about just like that. Firstly is the emotional and psychological side, right? I think it's more important to have that conversation, not just let's work on this because it's a cool idea, right? But what are your motivations? What are my motivations, right? What if, and have this honest conversations. What if we don't get funding for 6 months, right? What if we don't get funding for 12 months? Are you still committed to the idea? Right? Because people have different commitments, different risk profiles, all of those things, right? And putting that honest conversation up on the table up front is really, really important, right? If these are your friends, somebody you have worked with before, I think it's really good because that shows personal chemistry, right? And then on the third level is the skill set level, right? The question is, what are the different skill sets that you're bringing to the table? If you have 3 co-founders who are exactly identical in the skill sets, right? Probably not a good idea, right? But if you have somebody who's much more business savvy, somebody who's much more of a technical guy, and a third guy who's much more product savvy, that's a better team, a co-founding team. As opposed to 3 people who have gone through the same university, same curriculum, are best friends and have the exact same skills within that, right? Other questions? That or that?
I will ask about that. If you have like 2 friends with identical skill sets,
Yeah.
what do you suggest to do? Imagine you have a good idea, they have the same skill set.
Yeah.
What would you do?
I mean, so the thing is this, right? I mean, it's your thing, right? How well do you feel that personal chemistry is and whether you'll make a good team? If you think you're a good team, right, but it's still identical skill sets, I would say, okay, as the company grows, right, what are the different roles that people are going to be playing in the company, right? Because everybody cannot be you cannot have 3 CEOs, you cannot have 3 product people, right? And then, as a team, if you decide to go for it, right, and work as a team, then be cognizant or be aware of what are the what are the skill gaps in that team, right? So maybe all 3 of you are really good product guys, right? And you decide that's fine. We will go and take a jump at that, right? But maybe you want to bring in a business guy later on, right? And maybe a technical guy, right? Within that. So be very keenly aware of your strengths and weaknesses as an individual as well as a team.
Hi. If you don't take any equity, what's your business model?
Yeah, I mean, so we are getting sponsored by a lot of corporate sponsors, all right? So we get money from a lot of corporate sponsors who give to the program, who are actually interested in innovation and entrepreneurship, and that's how we are making our money. Thank you very much.